XK140. So there were, it was the 120, which was 1953, 52 to 3 kind of time. I think starting actually 49 through 54, and then this is that 140, which is the next model. And then the last one was 150, and then they went to the E-Type Jag, which I love. So this is the same motor that they use throughout. It's a straight six double overhead cam. Really, really good motor. These are just super reliable. If it wasn't for the Lucas Electronics, these things would run forever. So, but and I love looking at this motor because it's just like a work of art.
Yeah.
And so the big key thing here is it says Type C on there, and so they had so Jaguar had a car called the C-Type, which was based on the 120, but it's a racing car. It's aluminum body, most beautiful racing car ever in my opinion. But and they raced it at Le Mans, and they won Le Mans with it in 1953, I think.
They beat the Ferraris.
They beat the Ferraris and everything.
Yeah.
They're the first ones to use disc brakes,
Yeah.
right? So that was the big thing. They had disc brakes, and so for that they built a souped-up motor and used the C-type head. And the story is that they wanted to make 50 of these heads for the race, and somebody made a clerical error and put down 500. And so they made 500 of these heads instead of 50. So they had to find a place to put them. So they made kind of a souped-up version of this car. And so this is like this is 210 horsepower versus 190, I think, and it's about 20 horsepower just with the better head and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. So
that's custom there. That's not factory.
That's aftermarket. Yeah, absolutely. Because these are notorious for overheating, so we always fought overheating with this car. And my dad had this car in Colorado for most of its life, so he had a place out there, and so he and my mom would drive it all summer long, just literally just drive it into town and stuff like that. So he was always, when you have a traffic jam up in the mountains or whatever, you're always like,
Yeah, any clue what that car was?
I've got a friend that's got a Super 90 that they're trying to buy, and he's got a rental house. They left the car at the rental house, and the tenants got stuff stacked all over.
oh my God, is it still there?
Yeah, it was the shop car that we had at our house when we worked on it for 15 years. It's a Super 90 with a P11 on it. It's a coupe though.
They're going up in price.
Yeah.
So
Darren used to drag race Volkswagens.
Oh, yeah?
German cars, but then, like I said, he also drag raced the big. There's a top fuel alcohol in it.
Alcohol cars.
oh, did you
The
really?
NHR and stuff.
Wow.
I worked for Brad Anderson. I worked for Randy and Shelley.
So where are you at? Where are you from?
Orlando, what is it, the land? Daytona area.
Yeah.
All right, we gotta see this out.
Okay, so the Allard here. So this is
We'll uncover all your
What is
cars.
that ice?
what?
It's
Yeah, I'm not sure what
This thing.
Oh, that. Oh, it's, I think it's just.
What year did you, was this car the Jaguar?
I did.
You can buy it.
Sorry?
What year is the Jaguar?
It's a 56. 56 XK140 MC.
Have you seen the car that
Oh my God.
the Volkswagen dude got with it? That's the Ford Mayor.
Now this one probably outruns the Studebaker.
It actually will. Yeah. So this.
I've seen this.
So this is a 1953 Allard, and there are 89 of them made. It's built in England, and by a guy named Sidney Allard. So it's named after him. And his whole concept was lightweight body and frame, and then put an American V8 in it. So these were it's right after the war. These were shipped over here without a motor, and then either the dealer or the owner put a motor in it, and typically they were Cadillac, Cadillac 331 or the Chrysler Hemi 331.
Mm-hmm.
There are also some that had Oldsmobiles, and the early ones actually had Ford flatheads in them. But this one has the Cadillac, and this particular car was driven by Carroll Shelby in early his career, so it was his first professional ride. And he raced 9 races, or 10 races in it, won nine of them. And then they took it to Buenos Aires for the 1,000-kilometer race.
Ooh, our Pete would like that, huh?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got one.
Not like that.
Not yet, he ain't done with it.
And then that's where he was discovered by Aston Martin, and he got the job with Aston Martin, ultimately won Le Mans, and then became famous. But they say that this was his sort of inspiration for the Cobra. Yeah, because it was same configuration basically. So British chassis, aluminum body, and V8. So
They did weird stuff with them Ciatas too.
yeah, that's right.
Man, the Hemis had to be tight in here, huh?
Golly, that's pretty wide.
Yeah, but it's a pretty narrow valve cover compared to the
331s, they were big, looking
Tight in
engines,
there, huh?
they were really.
Yeah, that is a real narrow looking valve cover. So here's kind of the story. Here's a picture of some pictures of Carroll Shelby driving the car and so forth. So
They all had to carry a spare.
yeah, actually when we race we take those off. So for whatever reason, I guess the tires were so crappy back then.
Now, this,
That's let's see where.
Let me move out of the way for you, you can have my spot. I was wanting to read this.
You can see the lightweightness of the door.
but they told you you had to have doors too.
Man, I can't believe.
Let's see. I've always wanted one of these, and I did my eye out, and there was a friend that knew a guy, and so there we go.
Dang.
This is the first car that right there.
Look at the size of those headlights. Mm-hmm.
He's got the same motor.
This is a 1928 Studebaker President, and it's kind of the, I don't know, sort of the official car of third world countries. So it's like, if you're France, you probably have a Rolls Royce or something, or maybe a Peugeot or something. Or the United States, you're a Lincoln or something. The Studebaker kind of was, Cuba and Latvia, which is where my parents are from. And so this car, the reason we have this is my dad grew up in Latvia. His family had a car just like this. So it's the first car he ever drove at age 10 or something like that. And so when the Soviets came into Latvia, they basically took this car away from them and towed it away. And he always kind of vowed that he was going to get one. again. So when he retired from his job, he went out and found one of these. There were 7 of them that he could potentially, there were 7 that he could locate that were exact same body style, year, and all that stuff. And we found a guy that was willing to sell it and bought it, and he totally, body off restoration and put exactly his best recollection of the way his family car was. So, but it's cruises at 60 on the highway, and actually very reliable. Always started until this year when I figured out the fuel pump wasn't working. Realized that ethanol just absolutely destroyed the inside of the electric fuel pump.
We were just talking about that.
It was powder. It was literally powder. It was amazing. And so.
Now, does this have an electric start on it, or do you have to crank it?
It was electric start. And they always had the crank as a backup in those days, so electric start, and yeah, it's a fun day car, it's like my wife and I and another couple, and the 3 of them sit in the back, and I put on my chauffeur's cap and drive everybody around. So
Is that an antenna or a flag staff?
this is a flag staff right here. We actually have my dad saved the flag from the
An embassy car.
auto club, which his mom was a member for this.
This struck me funny, I saw some
Flag
flags.
right here.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty cool. So, let's see, Langer, you can back seat on.
Now, when you turn them headlights on, does people get to see you in other states?
It's a 6-volt system, so no.
No.
Soft glow candlelight.
Wow.
That's very cool.
Anyway, but yeah, that's